Welcome back, everybody. Okay, look, I'm just gonna get right into it. I'm just gonna get right into it. Like I said, I'm gonna piggyback off of the last episode and the goal conversation, but this is more on the NFL side. Excuse me, still dealing with the cough over here. Um, but yeah, this is more dealing with the NFL side of it. So before I get to that, let me just go in and say this, as and just say, all praises to the man up above, because without him, I'm not in this position to be able to speak my mind and let you guys into my thought process and the way I see and view particular things. So to the man up above, Lord Jesus Christ, thank you for the continued blessings and around me, and continue to bless those that watching and viewing and and support as well. So with that being said, let me do this. Over the last few years, there's been a lot of talk about the greatest defensive player of all time, whether it's Lawrence Taylor, right? I'm going to throw a name out there too. Um, really should be in the conversation. If not, should be the greatest of all time. Um, let me get with Lawrence Taylor. Let me start with Lawrence Taylor. All-time great. I've had the I was very fortunate as a kid growing up watching football on TV to watch Lawrence Taylor play. Absolute menace, and especially when you consider the era that they played in was really physical. Players weren't protected, quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, offensive players weren't protected. You know what I mean? The rules weren't put in place to protect offensive players. Defenses weren't able to do what the hell they wanted to do and get away with whatever they wanted to. And he was just a complete menace. A two-time Super Bowl champion, or one time I can't recall. Um, Three-time Defensive Player of the Year. You know, changed the way offensive coaching staff's game plan against the defense. That's for sure. And was a NFL MVP and the only defensive player to win the MVP. Um, all that while also again, you know, having the fortunate being fortunate enough to play under the rules that were implemented then, that where he can just get away with whatever he wanted to do, right? Especially as an outside linebacker. Now the positions do matter as well, so please pay attention to the position because he was an outside linebacker. But there was also rumors of drug use, and I'm not going to sit here and say that's what propelled him to be even greater, because that would be no, number one, that would be ignorant on my end, to even have that ideology, right? Or is just completely dismissing how great he was, because it's not steroids. Steroids, obviously, we know steroids enhances your ability to do specific things, right? That is actually a conversation I can have for another day, that I can touch on. But excuse me. But you take all those factors, right? Lawrence Taylor, three-time Defensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl champion, NFL MVP, so on and so forth. And then the other name that we hear all the time now, especially as of recently, and you can see behind me that I'm a Rams fan, but it's Aaron Donald. Um, Aaron Donald, unfortunately, wasn't fortunate enough to play in that era where you were able to get away with doing things as a defender that you can get away with, because now you can't. Aaron Donald was one of those players that had to play within the rules and still found a way to be a menace and terrorize quarterbacks on a game in, game out basis, even while facing double team, triple teams, and sometimes four guys. And mind you, Aaron Donald is a defensive tackle, so that matters. He's a defensive tackle playing in the meat and in the middle of that defense, right? And that matters because you're looking at the center and you're looking at the two guards, right? So not only if you're a center, you get the help with the two guards, and you may get a help from the right tackle or the left tackle. It all depends. Sometimes you may get chipped by the running back as well. Who knows? But this is what Aaron Donald has seen, right? This is what Aaron Donald has to go through on every game, right? Not to mention Aaron Donald single-handedly changed the position of the defensive tackle because now, because of him, because of Aaron Donald, defensive tackles are more recognized, and now they're getting paid. Defensive tackles weren't getting paid before Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald, because of Aaron Donald, that changed. That changed. So you also add that Aaron Donald is a Super Bowl champion. He's been to the Super Bowl twice, lost one. Um, three times Defensive Player of the Year, and you can easily say he got robbed and he got screwed out of an MVP. This is the reason why I bring that up. Because as a defensive tackle, nobody has ever gotten 20 and a half sacks until he did while facing double teams and triple teams. Still getting 20 and a half sacks in one season. People will say, well, still didn't break the record. Okay, the record was held by an outside linebacker. We're talking about a defensive tackle who's playing in the see, and people want to keep going to that. People want to keep talking about, oh, well, he didn't do that. Again, and this is what NFL players say, consider the position that he's playing. He's not on the outside where he has more room to run, where he has more freedom. He does. Aaron Donald didn't have that room. Aaron Donald didn't have that freedom. He's playing in the meat of the defense when he's still got two guys on each side of him. This is what we're talking about. And he still managed to get 20 and a half sacks in one season and should have won the MVP then. Should have, and he did it. So again, I don't again, this is gonna be it. I don't want it. I'm not trying to change people's minds, right? I'm not. But what I'm trying to say is you can make an argument for Aaron Donald being the greatest defensive player of all time when you consider the things that I just outlined, and especially when you consider the fact that in this era of the NFL, he wasn't able to get away with the things that Lawrence Taylor was able to get away with as a outside linebacker. He wasn't, right? Offensive players now they're protected. So Aaron Donald had to find a way to play within the rules so that way he wasn't getting penalized. Because you can't do the same things now that they did back in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s. You can't get away with those things anymore. They don't allow those defensive players to play that way. They don't. So that's what I'm saying. There's a case to be made for Aaron Donald being the greatest defensive player of all time. You know what I mean? But the other name, excuse me, the other name blows my mind that this man is never in the conversation. Never. And he should be. He should be. If he's not in the conversation, he should be the guy. Deacon Jones. A lot of youngsters looking at who's Deacon Jones. Let's just say this about Deacon Jones. The reason why there was a word sack is because he coined that phrase, sack. He coined sack the quarterback. He coined it. When he played in the NFL, his first 5 seasons or so, they weren't keeping tracks of the sacks because it wasn't an official stat. It was never an official stat until after his fifth or sixth year in the league was when they started to use the word sack and use it as a stat moving forward. And up until Bruce Smith broke the all time record for sacks, Deacon Jones was an all-time sack leader. Now, mind you, they still didn't tally the sacks um, when he first started playing. From his rookie year to his all the way to his fifth or sixth year, they never tallied up. They never tallied up all those sacks that he had. And you would hear guys that played in the NFL in that era, and they would say that man was averaging like 20 and a half sacks a season. This guy was getting like 7 to 10 sacks a game or something like that. It was crazy. They were throwing out some crazy numbers about Deacon Jones. And to top it all off, defensive players weren't given awards like that back then. The way defensive players are getting awards now, defensive players weren't getting awards then. They weren't getting the awards. They weren't getting those accolades. The 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 band of the hand to the helmet was all Deacon Jones because he was when he was doing it, he was ringing the heads of the defenders of the offensive players. I said earlier in the podcast, or earlier in the show, about Lawrence Taylor being a menace. Deacon Jones took the cake for that. Deacon Jones was going straight for your head, and he was going straight for your knees, and he was deliberately trying to hurt you. Not only hurt you, but he was trying to hurt the quarterback in general. Period. No matter who you were, he was trying to hurt you purposely to get you out of the game. You want to talk about menace. You want to talk about ferocious, and you want to talk about vicious, and you want to talk about the greatest defensive player of all time. It should be Deacon Jones. And how he manages to get ignored in this conversation blows my mind. Blows my mind. That man was an absolute menace. An absolute menace. That man was a terrorizer. And the guys that played against him, the guys that played with him, have been public in saying so. Again, I'm not here to change people's minds, but I'm trying to give people different perspectives and try to give people understandings and make people think outside the box and think more kind of, again, use your own eyes, use your own brains, just form your own opinions on specific things. I'm not trying to change your mind on anything. You know, you are entitled to think the way you want and to have the opinions that you want. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree? Did you not know some of these things? Let me know. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notify button. I will catch you guys on the next episode. Until then, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate all the love and support from every single one of you.